So who's up for a little scavenge hunting? Let's scavenge hunt the entrance to this dungeon. Oh. That looks promising. Surrounded by Naga. A staircase going down. Into an area that has water. Starting to wonder what the dolphin one would look like. Oops. Let's see, okay, so I can't pull it up here, but I at least can look at the mini-map. So yeah, fight through all these Naga just to try and find the entrance. So, from what I understand, this was around back in vanilla. How, you know, you can tell because of the, you know, the maze that you have to go through just to find the entrance. Usually if there's a maze to get to an entrance of a dungeon, you can probably guess it was back in the days of vanilla. However, from what I've experienced, and from what I've heard, they updated this dungeon, definitely for Cataclysm, but it's possible they may have also updated it for either Pandaria and even Warlords. Oh, wait, that's the, I was like, what's that little dinosaur attacking? Oh, that's gotta be Razan's Fury. Yeah, I know my druid isn't that well geared. He's only 433, I know. There's not much motivation at this point to gear alts. That's just kind of the reality of what we're dealing with and going through right now. So let's see. Ah, there's the swirly blue. So that's how you can tell it's the entrance. Okay. Now, fortunately, there's actually quite a bit of voice acting in this dungeon. I actually like this dungeon. Unlike Wailing Caverns, which I'm not too fond of going through because of the running around, I actually like this. It actually feels a little bit more linear. There are some optional bosses, but it does feel like it has a linear path to it. And I do kind of like how it's set up. Once dedicated to the Night Elves, goddess Elune, Blackfathom Deeps was thought to have been destroyed during the Sundering, lost beneath the ocean. Millennia later, members of the Twilight's Hammer cult were drawn to the temple by whispers and foul dreams. After sacrificing untold numbers of innocents, the cult was rewarded with a new task, to protect one of the old gods' most cherished creatures. A pet that is still in need of nurturing before he can unleash his dark powers on the world. So yeah, you can probably guess, I guess, that the old gods had a number of plans, I guess.
Hey man, help us! The Twilight's Hammer be fixing to sacrifice our green hides.
So you see what I mean? Even Ziva here at the beginning has some voice acting. And these guys are from the Earthen Ring, in case you can't tell.
How are you?
I'd be feeling better about our chances with you here. This is who we are here to stop. We barely escaped the Twilight's Hammer sacrificial altar, but others be needing help deeper in. If the blood ritual be complete, they be unleashing Akumai, the Devourer. Don't let this be happening, man.
Bye-bye now.
I'll get to Akumai when we I'll talk about him when we get there. When we reach him.
Find them, you imbeciles! Lord Bathiel will not be denied his sacrifices!
Poor Murlocs. Being forced to fight us against their...
You should be honored, fools! Your blood will feed Akumai, the destroyer of Azeroth!
Huh. They were gonna feast the beast Akumai. There are more prisoners deeper in the dungeon. Please save them.
Intruders! Move the prisoners! Their flesh belongs to Lord Bathiel. Come along, heroes. The water is fine.
So that was pretty horrible. He pushed some of the prisoners into the water, and they got eaten by, well, they're called blind sight razor jaws, but they're basically WoW's version of piranhas. Yeah. These are a little annoying to deal with. Fortunately, though, you can just kind of, when you swim across, you can just try and fight them, take them out. They don't do that much damage. Okay. Fortunately, because I'm a druid, I can go through these little underwater areas a little faster. And, of course, not to worry about underwater breathing. So, while some of the enemies, in story has been updated, the layout, from what I understand, is basically the same. From what I've heard, this was what, right here, was one of the very first, if not the only, jumping puzzle back in vanilla. And when you're running with a group and you feel a little hurried or rushed, you can feel a little bit pressured to try and make these every time, because if you don't, well, you fall in and you kind of slow down the group. Now, I found out the other day there's another way to do this. If you go over here, you can be able to kind of like inch your way over to get to that ledge. I found this the other day as I was working on leveling my rogue who got into this dungeon. But the main thing you want to do here is once you get past this area, you go over here to this rope, and now you have a shortcut. So now, if someone falls, you just click on that, it sends you right back up here. So, if you have someone who's falling in or not too confident about making the jumping, you can just do that. The old gods be restored. You will not be allowed to interfere. Alright, we're about to reach our first boss. Obviously, it's a bit of a gag. Because Blizzard loves their little inside jokes.
Resisting my magic
However,
is useless, Gamora. Soon you will be under my power. Then I shall unleash your fury on these meddling heroes. Wait! Wait, it's too soon! No!
well, she was going to bind it to her control, and then it absolutely mutilated her. You saw that, right? He basically tore her body to shreds and she exploded into little bloody bits. So, you heard her say Gamora. Okay. You have to get this joke. If you're not, how many of you are familiar with the kaiju Gamera? As a Godzilla fan, I cannot help but be aware of Gamera. I've heard people make comparisons to Godzilla and Gamera for years. You know, Gamera, Gamera. So yeah, this is once again Blizzard just having a little fun, making a little reference. It's cute. It's funny. When the Twilight's Hammer cult arrived, its followers roused and imprisoned one of the last peaceful creatures living in Elun's temple. The cult delighted in tormenting the giant turtle for years, flaying its mind and body until it succumbed to madness, naming the beast Gamura. The cultists attempt to control its savagery in order to protect their lair, which just completely, backfired on them. So yeah, he can be a tad bit rough of a fight when it comes to the damage he puts out. Yeah, that can deal quite a bit of damage. Yeah, this right here, yeah. You want to, knocks back and, yeah. It hurts. Habura, Gamera's son. I mean, hey, Godzilla had a son, right? Whether it be Godzilla Jr. or Minya, really depends on which of the films and
Please, you
eras
must
you
save
want to
the
follow.
others before Dominus sacrifices them.
Don't worry, I will. So this is the first of the optional bosses in here. And you can see she's actually right over here. More of these slaves that they are going to try to sacrifice. Yeah, this hurts. Yeah. When you're doing this, at level, that can hurt. You have to try and run away from that. I've done this dungeon enough times I can be able to, give you a good idea of what some of the fights are like in here.
No, please! I don't want to die like this!
Who dares interrupt my sacrifice? Slay them!
Maw of Death. Gotta get out of the way, because if you don't, it hurts.
My flesh will be claimed by the old gods.
So this is cool right here. You can come over here. This is an altar of blood. I know, gross. However, when you click on it, you get a buff for 60 minutes, which increases the Blessing of Blackfathom. Increases all your stats by 10%. So it's a nice little buff to get as you're going through this dungeon. So yeah, this is messed up. How many of these people have been captured to be sacrificed to raise this creature? All right, so we as the group would then usually come up here and be like, okay, what direction we go? We go this way to continue. I love that the Zandalari Troll Druid form is basically that, but more like a dinosaur. It's more like a shark. And I love it. Intruders, the hammer shall fall upon you. Yeah, there's a stun. Yeah, some of this trash can be rough. There's a weapon crate. Huh. It's a meat cleaver. Which is kind of horrifying when you think about it. If you consider that they may have been using them in here. Yeah. So you'll also notice, because of this, the recent revamp, that some of the mechanics for some of these fights, the trash and the bosses, are a little bit more modern. Oh my gosh. A tentacle. Deep terror, an aspect of Akumai. Yep. That's when you know. So this trash, some people will just literally try to walk over here. Let's just skip right by it. This will be like, no, and it grabs one and it flails you around. So I always try to take them out because I'm like, look, just, it's gonna grab you anyway, so just go ahead and take it out. It's always, you know, baffles me how often people will just simply try to skip trash when they could just simply kill it. And it's like, it's not that big a deal. So let me see if I can show you what this thing does. Hey. Hey. Hi. Yep, there it is, right here. Throws you around. You really can't do anything when you are held there. You have to rely on your teammates to basically get you out of that. Yeah. Quite a few of the Murlocs in here. Oh my goodness. He was a pretty looking one. Ah, yes, the lock chests. They used to have like a bunch of chests in older dungeons. It's like, hey, go find keys to unlock them. Or, hey, hope you have a rogue with you. And that they've leveled their lockpicking. I just realized I forgot to read the thing on Domina. When Lady Cerebus failed to provide magical protection, Domina sacrificed the Naga to empower her own dark ritual. Unlike her predecessor, Domina, Mistress of the Dark, has no fear of Akumai, and hand-feeds the beast countless innocents in order to curry favor with the old gods. This is Subjugator Korul. The Twilight Hammer commanded their powerful enforcer, Subjugator Korul, to cleanse the caves of anything not under their control. Gelahast was first to fall under the crushing strength of Korul, who then seized control of the cave-dwelling Murlocs. Korul left Gelahast's twisted corpse on display as proof of his dominance, and now uses the Murlocs to hoard the possessions of those who perished in these caves.
What precious treasures my Morlocks have lured to me.
Ah! He's got me. So yeah, he'll grab... yeah. His calls...
Arise, Akumai, and feed!
Yeah, so the more tentacles will sprout up, and they'll slam, yeah.
Akumai!
Yeah, you basically just need your group to kind of just like watch out for that, just kind of like, you know. The Murlocs have gone against you! Murloc slop. Turn them into an irresistible treat for Akumai. So here's another Altar of Blood with a Murloc on it, in case you want to get that buff, in case you didn't get it before. It's another optional boss. There's 3 here. Domina, Subjugator, and Guardian of the Deep, which, of course, I will definitely show you. Okay. Ooh, Twilight Shadows.
The intruders are still alive? Stop them! The ritual must not be disturbed!
Yeah, we'll be dealing with him in a bit. Okay. So yeah, we just gotta fight through some of these. Some of them can be a little rough. But not too rough.
Fall back to the sanctum. Lord Bathael's ritual must not be disturbed. Thruck, do not let them pass. Thruck, what? Guardian treasure!
So yeah, we fight Thruck here, who's gonna let the Guardian of the Deep go, and we'll be able to encounter it later. This is Thruck. Thruck brings many valuable qualities to the Twilight's Hammer, but intelligence is not among them. Convinced that slaying the Guardian of the Deep will reveal vast hoards of gold, Thruck's diminutive mind has no room to focus on anything else, and he will fillet the flesh of anyone who breaks his concentration. So he's got a couple mechanics in here.
You wrecked Thruck's catch of legendary Guardian Crab! Whoa! Thruck fillet you know!
Yeah, catch of the day, which is like a 10-second route.
You!
And then fillet of flesh. You gotta get out of the way of this, because it will be a big AoE damage, yeah. So when you see that, that's like, run this way. And that's basically it. You know, he hits, you know, kind of hard for the tanks, so...
Thruck, what? Guardian treasure!
I got a staff that looks like a fishing pole. Thruck's heavy-duty fishing pole. Cute. Alright, so I guess what we will do is go ahead and do the Guardian of the Deep now, since we just saw it, so... There's that guy. We'll deal with him in a bit. So, some people actually don't know or forget about this or not even aware of it. So, by the way, if you are playing a class that can't breathe underwater or race, you just click on this and you gas picked up the Guardian eggs, and you get a little buff here, which increases your swim speed. So, and it can also help with your water breathing. Put a bubble around you. So this is the Guardian of the Deep. Hungry for crawlers. Underneath the cursed Moonshrine ruins, ancient creatures battle for territory. Old Serikis was driven from the ruins by the Guardian of the Deep, who was seeking new spawning grounds. Now the Guardian watches over thousands of eggs until they can hatch and spread throughout the waterways of Azeroth. So yeah, it can fire egg sacs at random enemies, devour, and it heals himself. Yeah. This is a bit of a tad bit of a rough fight. Partly because, of course, you're on a bit of a timer, because we are all doing this underwater, and we only have a limited time to actually breathe underwater, so... But you can always use the eggs that are littered about here to try and make yourself, have an easier experience. So, of course, as I said, for druids, we can just, not worry about it. So, if you're wondering, well, how do you get out of the water after that? Because you'll notice it's not, well, you can just swim back over here and just walk right out. Others, however, and I'll show you, like, one of the ways I've done it, because some people just forget that you can just walk up these ramps. But some people will try to come up with other quicker ways, to save on time and such. One of the ways that I discovered was right over here. You just come over here, right to the very edge, and then you jump up, and then move forward. The trick is, though, you gotta go here, jump straight up, then move forward. And wait until you're, like, at the very top, and then push the forward button. Just a little trick. Though you can just easily just swim back over there, but people don't want to waste time. They want to get to these as fast as they can, so... So, of course, that thing dies. It creates that. So, our next boss is the guy we've been encountering. Executioner Gore. As Akumai's power grows, the need for more sacrifices increases. Dragging screaming innocents to their deaths is Executioner Gore's specialty. And the Twilight's Hammer has been making great use of his services, because they're the Twilight's Hammer. And they are horrible. Yeah, this guy deserves to die in a horrible, terrible way. Just like he made his victims do.
I was hoping you would make it to me. Now I get the pleasure of removing your heads.
So I hope you've been noticing those mechanics because, well, that's Executioner Strike. He summons this. Inflicts damage to enemies, and it hurts. Deals additional damage to enemies that are caught in the frontal cone. Yeah.
I delayed you long enough. Akamai will rise.
Even so. Even if he does rise, which, you know, it's like, well, of course he does. Our characters get in a position where even if they do rise, we get in a position to actually stop, you know, permanently kill them as opposed to like, oh, we'll just put them away. Nope. So this room can be a little rough because as you can see, there's trash on either side. Actually, there's 3 packs of trash here.
The summoning of Akumai is complete.
I'll get to him in a second.
Fortunately, you will not live long enough to behold his glory. Finish them!
So usually what the tank or group will do is try to pull 1 or 2 or even all 3 groups here. In order to try and, like, you know, do the line of sight thing where you drag them all to this side to try and make a bottleneck kind of thing here. If you pull all of them all at once, it can be a little rough. Especially when, you know, that gets involved. So this is Twilight Lord Bathiel. The Twilight's Hammer do not tolerate failure. So the first command Twilight Lord Bathiel gave once he assumed control of Blackfathom Deeps was to throw Lord Kelris into the hungry maw of Akumai. Now this elemental ascendant commits the depths of his unfathomable power to raising the beasts of the old gods and covering the world in black. So, one of his main mechanics here is he's gonna, you know, spawn a number of water elementals to try and come to him, and each one that reaches him will basically restore his health. So, you'll see in just a moment.
Before I kill you, know this, heroes. Akumai will devour this world!
So yeah, you can see he's kind of like one of those ascendants that a shaman can become. Restorative waters, piercing rain. So you'll see they go out. These are the restorative waters. So you have to... Also, you'll notice he's doing this thing where ice will spawn, like, under piercing rain. You know, frost damage every second to random enemies, and it will follow you around. So if you have gotten his health down, you have to take out those water elementals because each one will restore health, so...
You've won nothing, fools! Akumai arises!
My. I think that might be another statue to Ajara. The Fire of Akumai.
Our herald, Akumai, arises from the depths. You have earned the honor of being the first he devours.
So I find it interesting that it just says the old god says. You know. Obviously at this time they were sort of being vague when it came to the old gods, even though by the time we got to Cataclysm we already dealt with Cthulhu, we dealt with Yogg-Saron, and this is when they were first starting to really tease N'Zoth, you know, big time. I mean, he, you know, was getting teased throughout Cataclysm all the way up to Dragon Soul. Pandaria, they shifted more towards Y'Shaarj, obviously, but then, of course, they want to do more. And I just kind of find it, you know, find it interesting, a little funny, that it just says the old god says, as opposed to just saying N'Zoth. Because to me, this has to be N'Zoth saying this. Because at this point in Cataclysm, he's the only one left. We killed Cthulhu, we killed Yogg-Saron, and Y'Shaarj was dead long ago. So yeah, we gotta deal with the tentacles as we make our way in here. To face Akumai. An ancient evil carries within him a small measure of the old god's power. This three-headed hydra is greatly feared for his mindless savagery and insatiable hunger for living flesh, but the Twilight's hammer worships him as a divine sign that the old gods will soon return. Yeah. Yep. So you can see he's got a number of different mechanics here, including spawning an extra head that will specialize in something specific. It's kind of similar to the fight from, excuse me. Little stuffed nose. It's similar to the fight with Megara here from Throne of Thunder, with the multiple heads mechanic here. Come on, big bad Akumai, give me your best shot. So yeah, he'll summon more tentacles. Note that each one of these actually does damage to him. You can still attack him on your own, but killing the ads also damages him. Come on, spawn another head. There it is. Akumai the Venomous. Yeah. So you can see what I mean. Savor. I'm just gonna say this as N'Zoth. Savor this victory, mortal. Now that you have heard our whispers, it is only a matter of time until you belong to us.
How you doing, man?
That was amazing. The old gods be thinking twice before trying to take another bite out of you, man.
Be seeing ya.
So, that was Blackfathom Deeps. I like this dungeon. Like, you know, I was a little confused at first, but like I said, over the past, yeah. I told my guildmate earlier I was making vids, so he's like, oh, okay. But yeah, I've run it several more times over the past few months during this time, leveling alts, during this XP boost. So I've gotten more familiar with it, and I like this dungeon. Up next, I think we will be heading to a place that has been claimed and needs to be reclaimed by its rightful owners. And that, of course, would be Nurmagon. Though I'm obviously not going to do it on one of my Horde characters. I'm more than likely going to switch over to one of my Alliance characters. It'll be a little easier to get into know Morgan as an Alliance character than a Horde character, so stay tuned.